Romans 1, verses 21 through 32. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. But their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore, God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worship and serve created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Furthermore, just as they did not think it was worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. Now, family, that's the New International Version. I don't want to get anybody in the comments trying to tell me what to read, okay? If I want to read this version, I'll read this version. If I want to read my King James, I'll read my King James. If I want to read my English Standard, for the ones that do that, Lord have mercy on you. You know, you need to focus on what really matters. Say hello. This is Tux, guys. He's my baby. He is such a lap cat. I have so many people in my comments make really boastful, proud, and it's not in God, it's in themselves. They think they're right. You know, most of the time I'm not even going to respond to you unless I feel like the Lord tells me to respond. Most of the time I just don't even respond. But I had someone not too long ago say, I don't even remember what I posted, but it was the person in the comment said, well, yes and no. But what does the Bible tell us about that, family? What does it mean to let your yes be yes and your no be no? You know, like I said, I've had people say the very thing in my comments and they claim to be of God. You know, so what does God say about that? Jesus said, let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatever so is more than this cometh of evil. Matthew 5:37. And the NIV clarifies the meaning of Jesus' words somewhat. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond that comes from the evil one, family. The context of the verse has to do with oath keeping, more or less. We'll take a look, at the broader context of Jesus' sermon. Matthew 5 is a part of the Sermon of the Mount, and in this section, Jesus addresses some of the underlying principles of the certain Old Testament laws. And there are some cases in which a person could obey the letter of the law but still be guilty of breaking the principle. The Pharisees and the teachers were experts at keeping the letter of the law, but Jesus warned his hearers that unless their righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and teachers of the law, they would never enter into the kingdom of heaven. That's in Matthew 5:20. This statement would have shocked his hearers because the Pharisees and scribes were looked up as, they were the ones, they were holier than thou, as people will say nowadays. They supposedly were walking in obedience. But Jesus points out that the technical obedience is not enough if the spirit of the law is broken. In Matthew 5:21 through 22, Jesus teaches us that it's not enough to be, quote unquote, technical innocent of murder because one has murderous thoughts and attitudes without carrying out the physical act, right? In Matthew 5:27 through 28, Jesus says it is not enough to be, quote unquote, again, technically innocent of adultery. So because a lustful look, even just a look, destroys one's purity of thought. In Matthew 5:31 through 32, Jesus teaches that divorcing a wife for an inadequate reason, even with the proper paperwork is filed, may not be a legitimate divorce in God's eyes. In Matthew 5:33 through 37, following the same pattern, Jesus addresses the subject of telling the truth. Jesus tells the crowd family not to break their oaths. An oath was a promise to do or to not do something, invoking God as a witness and one to bring judgment if the promises were broken. It was common for people to make oaths to emphasize their seriousness and truthfulness, brothers and sisters. Sometimes they would swear on something less than God, such as heaven. The point of the lesser oath was to allow some flexibility in breaking the oath. Since God's name had not been invoked, they reasoned breaking the oath wasn't that bad. In this case, the oath was being made by a person who was not afraid to break it, making the oath, no good. Instead of the varying of the sincerity level of oaths, Jesus says to simply, it's a yes or no. It's not a maybe, it's not an in-between, So anytime you see someone say, well, yes and no, it's either got to be a yes or a no. It's just point blank, period. Don't let someone try to fool you like that. The invocation of God's name is a mere, I guess what I'm trying to say is mouthing a meaningless oath or like a promise does not create loopholes for yourself. Your word should be your promise. And Jesus says that oath or no oath simply says, say what you mean and stick with it. If you're going to say something, mean it and stick by it. Keep your word, keep your promise. Here in the whole context, you have also heard that our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Just a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond that is from the evil one. And that's in the New Living Testament, family. Matthew 5:33 through 37. In Matthew 5, verse 34, family, Jesus says, do not swear an oath at all. And some have interpreted this to mean that a Christian should never take an oath for any reason, such as testifying in court, a witness in a sworn in, raising his right hand and sometimes placing it over the hand of the Bible and promising to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. However, the point Jesus is teaching is not about taking an oath in this manner is wrong. Taking a meaningless oath or promise in order to create a loophole and retain the option of breaking it is wrong. If an oath is required in the course of, civic duty, the Christian should have no problem making it. The proper application of Jesus' principle of let your yes be yes is that the Christian must be truthful, basically, in all circumstances, family. Otherwise, you're not what you claim to be. I'm going to end it with, I want to read to you guys King James Version. This is going to be John chapter 8, family, verses 44 through 47. Ye are of the father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh of lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father in it. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me? He that is of God heareth God's words. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God. And family, go back and read, you can cross-reference that into the first scriptures I was reading to you guys in Romans 1, 21 through 32. But let your yes always be yes, or your no be no. Always keep your word. Love you guys. Say bye, Tux.